Nano Machine. Bai, Anhongweolja. Chapter 147. Worth of Heir. Part 1. In the 500 years of history of the Demonic Academy, it was the first time that members of 6 clans all died in one night. Bodies were sent to their respective clans the next afternoon. It was sure that the situation will become worse, so the letter was also delivered that suspect Chun Muyan and Mu Jinyun will be arrested in prison cave until all elders and the Lord returns to the cult. And at the chief's office on the first floor, Ho Jincheng and Li Hamming were talking. It was amazing. Ho Jincheng spoke and Li Hamming nodded in agreement. These two already knew that the true culprit behind the killing of these 4 cadets Chun Muyan nor Jinyun. It will be hard to recognize who's behind just by looking at the body. Even Li Hamming thought of Chun Muyan when he saw the tracing left on Baek Cherku's body. I am curious myself. Repeating the same formation just by watching it once was not something anyone, not even warriors of the superior level, could do. And right sword left hand was one of top special skills within the Wise clan. It was likely that the clans would come to have grudge against themselves from this incident. Even the Lord barely had them weakened of their powers. As Ho Jincheng said, it surely was amazing scheme. This was only method that can be done within the academy, as there were no other way for these members to gather in one place. The fruit is ripe. The fruit that Li Hamming waited for a long time had now completely riped. Yoan couldn't think straight from his anger before, but now he had earned the cold heart that really befitted his worth. We will now have the true lord that the sword demon waited so long. It wasn't sure how things will unfold from here, but it was likely that all 6 clans will less care about Chun Yoan from this. And if 5 clans were to fight against each other, it meant Yoan's plan was successful. I guess bodies and letters arrived at each clan now. It has been hours since these were sent to respective clans. Ho Jincheng then looked out to the west side of the window and spoke. The Poison clan might make problems soon. As for the Poison clan, they had lost the prince, leader of the clan, and even the future leader of the clan. It wasn't sure what they will try to do now. At the mansion located at west of Demonic Cult, there were many leaders of Poison clan all dressed in white mourning robes. These members, who were in process of the funeral for their leader Baeko, who died 8 days ago, were looking at the casket that just arrived and reddened eyes. Inside of the casket, there was the body of Baek Cherku, pale without blood. Their fury to see another death in their family even before finishing up the previous funeral made them infuriated. Cherku! No! Lady Jo screamed and wailed in front of the casket of her own son. No one came to comfort her, as all of them just looked at the casket dumbfoundedly. It angered them so much that Baek Munsu, Baeko's eldest son, gritted his teeth and spoke. I can't hold back any longer. I was going to wait until we finished father's funeral, but this has gone over the line. Now even his son had died. There were no one who can ease Baek Munsu's anger who had lost his son. Only blood of vengeance was going to ease him. Wise clan. All leaders of the Poison clan knew that it was Wise clan that was behind reason of Baeko's death. Baeko, who decided to refuse to accept that the 6th test, changed his mind in just one day after Lady Mu from the Wise clan visited them. You are right. We shall not play puppet to them any longer. Baek Chao also shouted angrily. Their anger was now focused solely on the Wise clan. Munsu looked at each of the leaders and shouted. We must cut the head of that woman. Only then, we will have our father and Cherku rest in peace. That woman meant Lady Mu. All of them remembered what happened 8 days ago. On the first day of Baeko's funeral, Lady Mu visited them. And to the leaders who knew that it was Lady Mu who changed Baeko's mind, Lady Mu taunted them, accusing they weren't doing anything to avenge Baeko on Chun Yoan. Of course, they couldn't forgive Chun Yoan either, and it was the midst of a funeral that they didn't make it any problem, but it had now gone out of the line. You have gone too far, Wise clan. Baek Cherku's sign of death was from internal damage and sword wound left by right sword left hand from the Wise clan. And considering the letter sent by Li Hamming, the suspect was no doubt Chun Muyan, the prince of the Wise clan. We have to strike them now. I agree. We have to take them out when half of their power is missing. All the leaders agreed. With the 1st to 8th leaders out of the cult's castle right now, 5 clans aside from the Poison clan were missing of their half powers. Brother. They will think we will be busy with the funeral for Cherku. We must not lose this chance. You are right. Baek Munwang's idea was right. Even Baek Munsu thought it was very reasonable. Munsu then ordered for preparing Cherku's funeral and secretly ordered all forces of the Poison clan to spread around the cult to gather at midnight. They had been weakened severely due to the Lord's oppression in the past 3 years, but without the first elder Mu Jinwon, it was best chance for them to wipe out the Wise clan. Chapter 148. Worth of a Heir. Part 2. And at midnight, the time was now 2 hours past the time when Baek Munsu decided to attack. At the large courtyard of the Wise clan's mansion, the courtyard that was as twice large as the Poison clan's, was filled with the smell of blood. There were countless bodies all over the place. The Poison clan's vengeance had started, but the result was unexpected. Kneel. Ugh. Old man with white hair made a middle-aged man fell on his knee. Man wanted to resist, but the powerful energy pressed him down easily. And as torches were lit, the man's face was revealed. It was Baek Munsu, with both of his shoulders drenched with blood. Munsu couldn't raise his head up as he scowled in pain. Damn it, how did this happen? Baek Munsu gritted his teeth. At the courtyard that was lit up, all bodies had masks over their head. These were warriors from the Poison clan. Among them were Baek Chao, Baek Munwang, and other leaders. All of them were killed. Munsu was hard to believe on what just happened. Monster. Baek Munsu, when he was ready, ambushed the Wise clan's mansion immediately. He thought the Wise clan would not be ready for any ambush from the Poison clan. But as they snuck into the courtyard and walked in, they couldn't find anyone. Baek Munsu then realized it was a trap and tried to retreat, but it was too late. Arrows wielding internal energy fired upon warriors of the Poison clan and killed half of them easily. Right after that, warriors from the Wise clan appeared and attacked them. Baek Munsu and the other warriors fought valiantly, as they were enraged with anger, but the situation turned upside down with the appearance of the old man and woman with a veil over her head. I can't believe this. Munsu looked up to see the middle-aged woman with a red veil over her face, cleaning her sword of sticky blood. It was Lady Mu, the first wife of the Lord. Munsu thought she was just merely the wife of Chun Yuzhong, but she killed Baek Chao and Baek Munwang with her own sword. It was an attack of two grandmasters, but they stood no chance. Not many in the cult knew of her true power. You hid your skill. Oh, so you can still talk? I didn't hide anything. Nor that I shown to anyone either. You dare? But before Munsu can finish, her sword swung, cutting off Munsu's neck. His head fell to the ground and Mu spat on it. I won't waste any more time talking with you. Lady Mu's sword then began to burn with the smell of blood boiling. All warriors of the Poison clan had poison within their blood. As Lady Mu raised white chi over her sword, the blood began to boil and let out purple steam and turned sticky. It's dirty. Mu then cleaned her sword off with a cloth piece, and a middle-aged man with a long beard walked up to her. Lady Mu, we are finished cleaning off these rats that entered our courtyard. Good. They always play under my expectations. Lady Mu knew that the Poison clan was going to ambush them. After receiving the letter that Chun Muyin was sent to prison for being suspect of killing others, she guessed this will happen. I thought I can use them further, what a shame. But lady, do you think the Blade clan will stay quiet? Buyen Kong were also claimed to be killed by Chun Muyin. Lady Mu shook her head. Without their elder's order, they will never come. Unlike the Poison clan who had lost their elder, the Blade clan still had their elder alive, so they won't be going to move without their leader's order. It was different from the Poison clan who had lost so much. Yes, sir. Then we will send someone to the academy tomorrow and retrieve the prince and Jin Yun. With being a suspect of killing another cadet, Chun Muyin and Jin Yun were going to expelled anyway. No. Let them be. Huh? Muyin needs to learn. But we can't. I know my kid. He became arrogant and fell to the enemy's trick. He needs to learn from this. I wanted to teach him that being on the Lord's seat isn't easy, so it's a good opportunity. The middle-aged man didn't speak any further as he knew well Lady Mu wasn't likely to change her decision. Yes, ma'am. But first, we have something to do. Order anything. Find out everything about that dirty peasant. Use every of our power to do it. I don't care what you need. Starting from the guard Jiang, to all cadets who were expelled. Use everything. Yes, ma'am. And when the middle-aged man disappeared, the old man walked up. He was worried about Lady Mu, who seemed calm, but was actually very unhappy ever since she received the letter from Chief of the Demonic Academy. Are you okay? Of course. He got on my back this time, so I'll make him pay. I can't let him be as he. He has become too dangerous. She didn't say the last part out loud. Chun Yowan had reached the superior level and now shown the ability to make a perfect scheme. She was uncomfortable to accept that she had to deal with the Poison clan by herself because Yowan had played tricks on them. He's not someone Muyin can deal with anymore. I have to deal with him myself. Her face was hidden under the red veil, but her eyes glared ominously through it. Chapter 149. Worth of a Heir. Part 3. 3 days passed after members from 4 of 6 clans had died. Starting with the fight between the Poison Clan and Wise Clan, there had been many incidents between 6 clans that turned the atmosphere around the castle of demonic cult to be cold. With the Lord and Elders missing from their seats for a long time, all these tensions were just growing further. There were also changes to the demonic academy. With Chun Muyin and Mu Jinyun imprisoned in prison cave with their internal energy sealed, all members of Muyin's group were shocked. As they heard that Muyin was imprisoned because he was being accused as killing members of other clans, they knew that there were no way to win the competition anymore. Those who entered the group to support Chun Muyin on becoming the Lord left the group. Guxin, left-hand man of Chun Muyin, tried to stop them from leaving, but he didn't have any option. How can you betray our prince? Betray? If Prince Chun Muyin will not become the heir, how can he support our clans afterwards? Did you forget we are not members of clans affiliated with the Wise Clan? I warned not to fight against that monster, Chun Yuan. Those members supported Chun Muyin, not the Wise Clan. With 15 members leaving, Chun Muyin's group were left with only 11 cadets who were members of clans affiliated with the Wix clan. We have no choice. Chun Yuan controls the entire academy now. There's nothing we can do. Ugh, we'll have to help the prince once we get out. If Chun Muyin was to be expelled, then they didn't need to stay within the academy. After realizing they were given no opt-in, they all volunteered to leave the academy. And out of those 15 cadets who left Muyin's group, 7 of them came to Yuan to join him, but none of them were allowed. Why is that? Don't you need members from high-ranking clans to become an heir too? I don't need it. Chun Yuan snapped coldly. For Yuan, who valued integrity above all else, he didn't care for these cadets. And with Yuan refusing them, these 7 cadets were now left with nowhere to go. Yuan's members all gathered in one place. With 2 more being added to their group, there were now total of 17 members. 2 who joined were Samachuk and Isaham. They have volunteered to join Yuan before Yuan fought those 4 cadets, so they were accepted. I want to follow you, who will become the future lord. I know that you need members from high-ranking clans. Please take us in. I refuse. What? With Chun Muyin being imprisoned, Chun Yuan was now most likely to become the heir, and 5 cadets who sided with no one finally came to ask to join Yuan, but they were refused. He didn't want to let those cadets who waited until the last to see who's the right choice. With that said, Samachuk and Isaham's quick decision was lucky on their part. Master, you must take them in. Che Takim spoke and a few cadets nodded in agreement. They gathered here to persuade Chun Yuan. They were telling Yuan to take those 7 cadets who said they will side with Chun Yuan. I understand your position, Prince. But you need at least 12 clan leaders from high-ranked clans that agree with your coronation. Chun Yuan frowned. After defeating every other candidates, there were 1 barrier left for Chun Yuan to become the heir. He needed approvals. This was real reason behind princes requiring to build their forces within the academy. In current group, Chun Yuan had Ko Wanger, Baki, Munku, Ho Sanghua, Che Takim, Wu Sojung and Samachuk, but that was only total of 7 members. You just need 5 more. This wasn't an issue when only members from 6 clans competed against each other. They already had many high-ranked clans under them, so they didn't need further members, but Yuan did not have any. And it was only 2 days ago when Yuan found out that he needed 12 approvals. And if it wasn't for Li Hamming who told him, he would not have learned it either. Master, I agree with Che Takim also. Ho Sanghua, who didn't raise any objection, usually agreed with Che Takim this time. All members who got out of Muyin's group were from high-ranking clans, so no one imagined Yuan will refuse all of them. Master, you must take them in. They knew Chun Yuan was careful in taking in members, but it didn't seem like smart to lose the chance to gain those approvals with such ease. But Chun Yuan shook his head. No. I will choose another method. What? Yuan claimed, and his members became confused at unexpected declare. I am leaving the demonic academy today. Wait, what? All cadets were shocked to hear something they didn't expect. There were still 5 months left in the academy, so even if Yuan had passed the 6th test, they thought he will stay for the remaining 5 months. They all knew that he will immediately stand against 6 clans moment he leaves the academy. Master, don't you think it's dangerous to leave now? Members from high-ranking clans in Yuan's group still had tests to go through. It was safer for Yuan to leave the academy with them. And we don't have all the approvals yet, isn't it dangerous too? No. There's another way to be accepted, without having need of 12 approvals. Every member turned grim at Yuan's word. They all knew what that other way was. But that's when Ko Wanger smiled and talked to the other members. don't worry. He's not leaving alone. Chapter 150. Worth of Heir. Part 4. What? Are you leaving too? Jin Guk's eyes turned wide and he faced Ko Wonger. He then realized that Ko Wonger, who always spoke of his opinions, had been silent. I'm not alone on that. Hee. I'm going out too. Manku. I'm going also, Manku spoke excitedly, and Bakki also raised his hand to speak up. Wait. These were those who had passed the 5th test. Che Takim and Ho Sangwa then turned to Samachuk, who recently joined them, and Samachuk nodded. Embarrassingly. Yes. I still have more training to do, but I am going off to support Master. They already had talked this through with Chun Yo-won. They already had passed the 5th test, and with the 6th test, which was almost impossible, it was safe to say that they had finished the academy. I'm sorry I have to say this after we all decided. Ko Wonger began to explain to the other members. There were 2 reasons why Chun Yo-won was leaving the academy. As mentioned earlier, one was to gain more approvals to become the heir, and another was because the Lord and 8 elders were missing as they had gone to Wulin. And with the missing 5 leaders aside from the dead Beko, this was the best time for Yo-won to leave the academy. Then we will go together. Yes, we'll go together. Ho Sangwa stated first that she too would leave the academy, followed by the other members. But Yo-won shook his head and told them to stay behind. No, you should stay. But I know you all want to support me anywhere I go, but if you really want to help me, then you must finish your training before you leave the academy. Chun Yo-won thought they still had the potential to become more powerful. It wasn't with everyone, but Oh-jung, Jin Guk, or Machel still had not completely acquired the top-ranking martial arts that were given to them before. So, we are not strong enough to be of help to Master yet. He's telling us to gain more strength. We have to become strong. They spent a long time with Chun Yo-won already, so they all understood what Yo-won meant. All of them then decided that they would have to become more powerful for Chun Yo-won's sake and the future that lied ahead of them. Hubong will be sad. Jin Guk turned over to Hubong. He brought his down and spirits was shaking it. Hubong, the self-claimed best servant of Yo-won, was not allowed to leave with his master, so Jin Guk tried to comfort him for his disappointment. Huh? That's when Hubong shot up from his seat and turned to the cadets who were going to be left in the academy in teary eyes and shouted. I will support the master, so don't worry and come out soon. Ugh. Ko Wonger then covered his eyes with his hand and shook his head. He told Hubong to stay quiet until they left the academy, and Hubong just had to spill it. In Hubong's case, he had been insisting on leaving together ever since Chun Yo-won revealed his plan, so Hubong was only chosen as an exception. But if Hubong spilled it here, then it was likely that the other members would feel left out too. What? Master? How can you do this to us? You told us to stay back, but why are you taking Hubong? Didn't you say we should get stronger? Needless to say, all cadets burst in objection to Hubong. Hubong, who now realized his mistake, became dumbfounded. Hubong, you take care of this. Master. Chun Yo-won shook his head and left the scene. Hubong had to spend hours trying to persuade others. At a late hour after dinner time, there was a large mansion on the southwest side of the demonic cult's castle. It was a bit smaller than that of the mansion of the Poison Clan, and it had a more dark and gloomy atmosphere filled around it, unlike with the other clans' mansions that were lavish and grand. On the large panel outside the gate, it said the Ghost Illusion Clan. There were 2 guards who stood outside the gate that had white-colored skin masks that only revealed their eyes and nostrils. If one didn't know it was a mask, then it would have made them look like a ghost. Thanks to that, no cultist who lived around the area ever came close to this mansion. And the guards saw people coming in their direction, which wasn't common. They were 6 young men and women in their late teens, with one particular person that was the most striking. One bearded young man was muscular and was about 2 heads taller than any of the adults. He was the most noticeable one from the distance, but as they got up to the front of the gate, the young man at the front came to be most striking. He had long hair that reached down to his back and a pale white face. He didn't seem like he had any internal energy, but he had sword and blade on his back and waist, proving that he was a martial artist. Who is this guy? As a guard, they knew most cultists that lived around the area, so these people were first ones they saw. Guards placed their hands over their swords and asked, "What brings you here?" The young man with long hair then took out a blue medal from his pocket. The medal was engraved with the number 12 on it. This is? 2 men's eyes grew large with shock and they quickly took their hands off from their swords and bowed. 12th Elder, welcome. The medal was proof that one was an elder, the highest ranking title within the demonic cult. The young man who showed the 12th elder medal spoke to the guards. Please let 11th elder Huani know that Chen Yuan the 12th elder is here to meet him. Chapter 151. Worth of Heir. Part 5. So, it's true that the leader of the Poison Clan really died. The guard was really shocked. The death of the Poison Clan's leader, Beko, was already widely known throughout the cult. When people heard that Beko died from participating in the 6th test of the academy, they were curious as to who this Chen Yuan was. He's merely a teenager and already at the superior level. It was hard to believe. This young man in front of him was either equal to or was a stronger warrior than Huani the Thousand Faces. But why was Chen Yuan, who should still be at the academy, standing here? One of other guards spoke. I'll let the elder know. Can you wait here please? Yes. The guard opened a small door on the right next to the giant door and walked in. Hu Bong whispered to Ko Wanger, this place is creepy, it feels like a ghost might come out. I know. Even Ko Wanger seemed to grow tense from the creepy atmosphere beyond the small door. He was large and muscular, but he had a weakness for creepy things like this. It's been a long time, but it's still creepy. Mun Ku visited this place with her grandfather Mun Yun before, so she didn't realize it back then, but it was much more creepy than she remembered. Huani was known for his weirdness even among all 12 elders. I hope the prince can persuade him. The reason they were here was to get support from Huani. He was the leader of one of the highest-ranking clans and few elders along with Mun Yun who did not side with any of the 6 clans. It would have been better if Gramps were here. With Beko's rank falling down to the 12th rank, Mun Yun's rank had gone up automatically from 9th to 8th, which put him in a spot where he needed to go out of the cult with the Lord. Even if Mun Ku was granddaughter of Huan Yi's friend, it didn't seem like it will help much unless Mun Yun himself came with them. The sound of someone coming over was heard beyond the giant door. There were 2 people who came over a small door on the right. One was the guard who walked in to notify the arrival of a guest, and another was handsome man with his hair pinned up. He wore red silk clothes with yellow butterflies sewn on it. It was a man, but he had makeup on his face like a female, and that gave him a feminine look. Is there anyone who's normal here? Hu Bong almost spoke out loud, but he held back. The red-clothed man bowed to them politely and greeted them. Greetings. I am Nu Yan, advisor of the elders. I heard the 12th elder was here, are you the elder? He even talked like a woman. But he was looking at Ko Wanger, not Chen Yuan. Ko Wanger's large body was enough to draw attention from people who saw them first. Ooh, no. He is my master. Ko Wanger pointed at Chen Yuan. Nu Yan then covered his mouth femininely and laughed. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have made a mistake. Welcome, 12th elder. I am Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan bowed without any change in expression. Nu Yan then ordered the guards to open the giant door and spoke to Yuan. My master is waiting for you in the guest room. He asks you to join him for tea. Please come in. Thank you for greeting us at such an hour. And when Yuan tried to go in with his members, guards blocked them. Yuan narrowed his eyes and turned to Nu Yan. Oh, my bad. My master only wants to see you alone. They're my people. I'm sorry, but master is very shy person, please be considerate. He spoke politely, but it was apparent that he wouldn't allow anyone else to enter. But Yuan was in no place to complain as it was him who needed to ask for a favor here. Excuse me, but how can you be sure that my master will not be in danger if he goes in alone? Ko Wanger first voiced out his complaints. Nu Yan then smiled and answered, it's rare to see a great man like you with such great honor. Rest assured, my master will not be rude against elders of our cult. Hee, why don't we do this? I'll let one person come. I can't take any more or my master will be angry at me. Ha! Hu Bong scoffed dumbfoundedly. It didn't seem like having one would change anything, but it was better than nothing. As people were not sure of who to go in, Mun Ku volunteered. I'll go. She was the only one who had seen Huan Yi, so everyone agreed. Nu Yan watched Mun Ku weirdly. Soon, Chen Yuan and Mun Ku followed Nu Yan into the courtyard of the Ghost Illusion clan's mansion. As they walked past the giant door, they were greeted with the courtyard full of rocks and dolls made from haystacks that had red clothes. All of these dolls also had masks over them which gave a more creepy vibe to the place. What a taste! Yuan thought it was weird from the outside, but it looked much weirder on the inside. As they moved past the small building toward the rear, there was lavishly decorated guest house. Master, here's the guest. Chapter 152. Worth of Heir. Part 6. Nu Yan shouted at front of the guest house. There was a large table in the open area inside the guest house, where 7 middle-aged men with blue silk clothes were sitting down. They all had the same faces. Masks? He heard Huan Yi was the best craftsman for creating such a skin mask, but didn't think it would be this precise. All of them looked natural and even felt like if they were the same person. As Yoan got up to the floor, one man sitting on the highest ranking seat got up and bowed. "Welcome. I am Huan Yi, leader of the Ghost Illusion clan." Mun Ku then became confused. The face wasn't what she saw before. With the nickname of 1,000 faces, it was known that no one other than the Lord saw Huan Yi's real face. "What is he doing? I know he was weird, but this is..." Mun Ku heard a lot about Huan Yi from her grandfather already. She knew Huan Yi was a weird person, but she didn't think he would do something weird during the first visit. "Prince, his face is different than last time I met him." Mun Ku sent telepathic message, but Yoan didn't respond and just bowed. "I am Chun Yoan, the new 12th elder." "I know. Come and sit down. We'll talk while we drink some tea." The table was filled with sweet snacks and hot tea. Mun Ku then looked at Huan Yi suspiciously and bowed. "Long time no see, Uncle Huan. I'm Mun Ku from the Demon Dragon clan." At Mun Ku's introduction, one of the men who was sitting down with Huan Yi's face slightly turned to look at Mun Ku. But Huan Yi, who greeted himself to Yoan, looked back as if he had seen Mun Ku for the first time. But the words that came afterward relieved Mun Ku. "Oh, long time no see. Was it before you entered the academy that we met with Mun Yun? So you've been taking good care of it, I see." "Oh, yes. You remembered, Uncle." Mun Ku's face brightened at that. He sure is Huan Yi. The only person who knew she was wearing a mask was Huan Yi, the 1,000 faces who had created the mask. But unlike Mun Ku's relieved telepathic message, Chun Yoan didn't seem all that satisfied. Huan Yi then offered Yoan to sit down. "What are you doing? Come sit down. Can I ask you something first?" "What is it? Do you know why I came here to meet with you?" Mun Ku became surprised as Yoan brought up the question already. Unlike her thought that he would talk with Huan Yi to create a good mood before diving into the important matter, Yoan just brought it up. "Huan Yi ansverit jesuali." "Of course. You came to take my medal." Surprisingly enough, Huan Yi too knew why Yoan had visited him. There were 2 ways to become the heir of the throne. One was to have clan leaders of 12 high-ranking clans to support him. And another was to be approved by 3 current elders. The proof of such approval was to receive the medal. By giving this medal to the candidate, it meant the elder had acknowledged the prince as a rightful heir and pledged allegiance. "So, you knew then? You, the victor of the competition, came out of the academy and visited me. Is there another reason?" Huan Yi was able to guess that Yoan would not have come straight to himself if Yoan had found 12 supporters already. This was the best time for Yoan to persuade other elders, while the lord and elders from 6 clans were missing. "Good. Then I will not talk to you as an elder. I request to be treated as a candidate to the heir." This meant many things. As an elder, they were equals, but as for a candidate, it meant that Yoan was here to receive support from Elder Huan Yi. Huan Yi then smiled and spoke. "I've been treating you as such from the beginning." "Pardon? Didn't you know? Elders are allowed to test the person if he is worthy to receive the Medal of Allegiance." "Meaning? I am already testing you if you are worthy to the throne." Huan Yi had been waiting to meet Chun Yoan, a candidate not from 6 clans since a long time ago. A candidate who had passed the 6th test in 70 years. He was also very curious as to what kind of man Chun Yoan was, who had defeated Bako, the poison man who was known for his ability to kill. "I want to test you regarding 2 things. One is to see your perception. I was going to give you some time by drinking tea, but since you dive right into the topic, I'll get to mine too. Can you find the real Huan Yi in this place?" Huan Yi then pointed at other 6 men sitting down next to him. There were a total of 7 Huan Yis here. Mun Ku frowned. All 7 Huan Yi had almost equal power and energy that was hard to differentiate one from another. "This is too difficult." And the mask that Huan Yi created was too detailed that even wrinkles to the beard was exactly the same that it was impossible to tell the difference. "I trained years for such charade, not to mention about the mask. No one will recognize this me." It was definitely enough to be confident in the test. "I won't make you just pick right now. We can drink some tea and take time to, I found you." "What?" Chun Yoan was looking somewhere. But the person he was looking at wasn't among the 7 Huan Yis sitting down at the table. The person Yoan was staring at was Nu Yayan, who was standing at the entrance of the guest house. Chapter 153. Worth of a Heir. Part 7. "Me?" Nu Yayan widened his eyes and pointed at himself. He was a man, but had red silk clothes with butterfly patterns and makeup that made him hard to be imagined to be one of 12 elders of the demonic cult. Prince Chun. Didn't Uncle Huan? I mean the elder asked you to find him among these people? Mun Ku quickly sent the telepathic message to Yuan. Huan Yi pointed at 6 people sitting down around him. It was hard to recognize who was the real Huan Yi here, but Mun Ku was suspicious of the man who turned slightly at her while ago to be the real Huan Yi. She was going to let him know after spending some time, but she didn't expect Yuan to appoint someone entirely out of context. This is shocking. I didn't think you would say I am the master. Nu Yan frowned as he touched on his lips. Chun Yuan then pointed at 7 Huan Yis sitting down on the desk. Elder Huan told me to find him while pointing at these people, but he just said to find him in this place when he spoke. He didn't say real him was within these 7 people. Oh. Mun Ku then reminded what Huan Yi had said also. Can you find real me in this place? Thinking about it now, Mun Ku didn't remember Huan Yi saying he was among those people. But that was too far-fetched to think Nu Yan was Huan Yi. But that's not enough proof. Aren't you throwing away your chance with such quick decision? Nu Yan shook his head and spoke, but Chun Yuan smiled. There is an easier way to find out. Easier way? Please excuse my rudeness. What? And at that moment, Chun Yuan bolted out like lightning toward Nu Yan. His hand that wielded blue force chi of blade struck down on Nu Yan's neck, trying to cut it down. It was so quick to dodge it. Mun Ku's eye enlarged. Nu Yan, who should have been only an advisor, stood in his place and created blue force chi over his hand to block Yuan's attack. Yuan smiled and spoke to Nu Yan. Will you still say you are not Huan Yi? This is unexpected. Huan Yi the Thousand Faces' test. It was a test that was actually set up to be almost impossible. No one other than the Lord has seen Huan Yi's real face. Not even Mun Ku, daughter of Huan Yi's friend, had seen Huan Yi's real voice or face. It was impossible to find out the real answer when they didn't even know what the answer was. Huan Yi had a weird personality. The reason for the first test was to have Yuan become surprised and look at his reaction to it, not to make him find the answer. He was going to be satisfied if Yuan calmly tried to find the answer. But he didn't expect Yuan will really find him. How did you know? When Nu Yan revealed his power, the entire air around the courtyard was filled with a strong power that pressed down. Even Mun Ku, super master level warrior, had shivered from the energy. It seems the internal energy had dark energy that made it feel creepy. You wouldn't say you just picked one, wouldn't you? It was a telepathic message. Telepathic message? Yuan remembered while ago. When he first saw Nu Yan, he didn't even think he was Huan Yi, as Nu Yan hid his energy perfectly. His feminine action also played a part too. But when Yuan saw 7 Huan Yi up on the table, he felt something was strange. Huan Yi, who had been talking naturally, began to speak with some time after being questioned after Mun Ku introduced herself. Why is he doing that? Yuan, who thought it was weird, then noticed Mun Ku's neck shaking faintly when she sent a telepathic message to him. Yuan then changed the subject quickly so that fake Huan Yi cannot react. And as expected, the Huan Yi that spoke with him took some time to answer. No one is shaking on their neck. Yuan, who thought if his guess was wrong, thought maybe it was possible to send a telepathic message even without shaking the neck, and asked Nano. Nano, can you find out how the sound is made when Mun Ku sent me that telepathic message? On how it works? He only asked just in case, but an unexpected answer came back. It is possible. Detect a different frequency of vibration. Adjusting it to make user be able to hear it. With Nano's words, Yuan heard weird faint whistling sound coming through his ear and heard something he had not heard until now. I've been treating you as such from the beginning. When the voice heard, the Huan Yi on the table spoke the same thing. I've been treating you as such from the beginning. Chapter 154. Worth of Heir. Part 8. Oh. Someone was talking through telepathic message and Huan Yi was just copying it through his mouth. Didn't you know? Elders are allowed to test the person if he is worthy to receive the Medal of Allegiance. Didn't you know? Elders are allowed to test the person if he is worthy to receive the Medal of Allegiance. He now knew why none of 7 Huan Yi's neck was shaking. It was because none of them were sending telepathic messages. The message was clearly coming from the back, at the entrance of the guest house. Wow, so I can tap into telepathic messages. It was more shocking that Nano can hear other people's telepathic message. But Yuan couldn't explain that Nano's ability made him tap into the telepathic message, and he didn't need to reveal this either. You have been taking time to answer ever since Mun Ku introduced me. I thought someone might be sending a telepathic message then. But I saw no one among these 7 people was shaking their neck to send the telepathic message. Then it meant there was only one who can send the message. Oh. Nguyen's face turned weird. He had recognized Mun Ku moment he saw at the giant gate in front of the mansion. It was the mask he made himself, so there was no way he would not recognize it. He didn't plan on taking other people, but changed his mind. No. Let's use her. If Mun Ku was here to help Yoan, then he thought Mun Ku will try to help Yoan on trying to figure out who was the real Huan Yi. So, if he fools Mun Ku, only one acquainted with Huan Yi, Nguyen thought it would make more hard for Yoan to find him. I allowed her to join in, to make it more confusing, but it actually worked against me. You are amazing. Nguyen accepted Yoan's perception on the matter. He didn't think a teenager just before adulthood can think it through this rationally. Nguyen then smiled femininely at Yoan, still with his force chi blocking Yoan's force chi, and spoke. I am Huan Yi, the leader of Ghost Illusion Clan. I am Chan Yovun. You passed the first test, so shall we move on to the next? What's the second test? We are the demonic cult. If you want my approval, prove yourself with your power as a martial artist. And at that moment, Huan Yi's hand released strong power and threw Yoan's hand to the back. He's powerful. Yoan tried to react quickly, but Nguyen's hand created many shadows as he charged in. Yoan blocked it with butterfly dance blade, but he was struck from quick kick onto his chest and was thrown out to the yard front of the guest house. Ugh. And as he sat down on his foot, the energy that came into him through the kick was sent out of his body, and the ground that he set his foot cracked. Prince! Mun Ku shouted in shock. She thought Huan Yi was strong as he was one of 12 elders, but she couldn't even follow Huan Yi's movement as he was too fast. Huan Yi walked out of the guest house and came over to Chen Yoan. I figured we might damage the guest house if we fight in there. Art of Ghost Spirits. Yoan remembered the formation that Huan Yi just performed. It was the formation of the Art of Ghost Spirits that Yoan saw on the 5th floor of the library at Demonic Academy. The difference was that it was more precise and had fixed many of its problems from that of the library. So, even if I think it's the formation I saw at the library, I shouldn't think it is the same thing. A martial artist with such power was sure to increase and evolve his martial art over time. Yoan became serious and Huan Yi smiled. I looked forward to this after I heard you beat the Poison Clan leader. That old man walked with a staff, but he was a real monster. Huan Yi had never fought against Beko himself, but he saw Beko's power multiple times at the war. Huan Yi was a strange man, but he too was a martial artist. He couldn't fight Beko as they were same elders, but he had imagined fighting Beko many times. But even after trying many times, the result of his imagination was always losing to Beko. If you defeated him, you can be my alternative. He wanted to test through Chen Yoan. If he was going to defeat Yoan, then it meant he overcame Beko too. I heard that you were skilled in the blade? And that you were taught by Right Guardian Submang? And as he spoke, one of fake Huan Yi from the table came up and gave the red blade to Huan Yi. As he pulled it out, the decorated blade revealed itself. It was created with cold steel, that colored in dark metal. It looked like a very fine weapon. Good. My specialty is with the blade too. Chapter 155. Worth of Heir. Part 9. Huan Yi's martial art was Ghost Illusion Blade. Yoan was surprised as he knew that the art of the ghost spirit was not the strongest martial art of the clan. It was a long time since Yoan fought warrior using blade skill. But unlike Chen Yuchan who Yoan fought back then, Huan Yi was much more powerful. Yoan then pulled out White Dragon Blade. As the white blade revealed itself, Huan Yi grinned. That is an amazing blade. This will be a good fight. Do your best like when you fought Old Man Beko. Huan Yi then charged at Yoan. As his hand flashed, the blade unleashed countless tracings as it came down upon Yoan. Ha! Yoan then unleashed the second formation of the butterfly blade dance to defend himself. The white dragon blade quickly spun and struck against Huan Yi's blade. With powerful force chi wielded around, two blades collided against each other, a large sound of metal clashing spread through. It was so large that even Chen Yoan's members were able to hear it. Ko Wonger frowned and complained to the guard. What's happening inside? We wouldn't know. Guards were staying outside the gate, so they had no way to find out either. But the sound of metal clashing was certain that people were fighting inside. Yoan's members who thought something happened to Yoan couldn't stay back anymore. Becky walked forward. We'll have to go in. No, you can't, ARGH. Guards tried to stop him but it was no use. Becky instantly kicked them, made them pass out and walked in. Samachuk mumbled with a frown. Can we do this? Even if this was an emergency, they were still at the mansion of the 11th elder of the demonic cult. Bursting in by defeating guards like this was the same as challenging the Ghost Illusion clan itself. Master might be in danger. Who cares about that? Hubong spoke and ran in. Master's safety is first. Let's go. Yeah, okay. Ko Wonger also ran in and Sama Chuk had to follow them too. And at the yard in front of the guest house, Chen Yuan and Huan Yi were already fighting through 10 formations. Both of them used very fast blade formations that made Mun Ku who watched to become dizzy. So, this is a fight between supreme level warriors. The yard had full of damage from blades. If they fought inside the building, then it surely would have destroyed the place. He's strong. To be this strong at such age, but this isn't enough to kill Beko. Huan Yi was astonished by Chen Yuan, but he thought it wasn't enough. He heard from Sama Yi that Yuan had defeated Beko with tremendous power, but it didn't seem like Yuan was at that level. This won't be enough to receive my approval. Huan Yi shouted disappointingly as he struck his blade against Yuan. But Yuan didn't seem to budge. There had been many who taunted him in the academy, and if he were going to be taunted, he would not have survived until today. I can't overpower him with butterfly dance blade. Huan Yi, who had hands-on experience in battle, saw Right Guardian fighting many times, so he knew the weakness of butterfly blade dance that made him harder to defeat with using of that skill. Yuan needed to show his best. Then should I try it? Sword force of the Sky Demon was very similar to the sword art of the Sky Demon, so there was no way for Huan Yi to not know what it was. Then two best martial art. That Yuan had was left with two. Counter sword skill, 24 demon sword or the blade skill from Blade God. Yuan chose the latter. When Yuan quickly took steps to put distance, Huan Yi became surprised. Yuan's stance had changed entirely from that of butterfly dance. Huh? What is this? Huan Yi, who had many experiences, had never seen such a stance. But there was no way for warrior like Chen Yuan to use weak martial art, so Huan Yi calmly sent energy into his blade. Yuan warned at Huan Yi with a quiet voice. I might not be able to control it. Make sure you defend it with all of your power. Huh? At that moment, Chen Yuan charged in with a powerful manner unlike before. What is this? Huan Yi quickly unleashed the last formation of his blade skill to defend himself. With two blades striking against each other, the loud sound of metal clashing filled the area. But Huan Yi frowned. His rapid blade movements were countered from Yuan's blade that came from weird angles. What formation is this? Huan Yi was a talented blade user who knew that such a weird angle of blade usage will destroy the user's muscle. But Yuan was managing to do it easily. Huan Yi tried to defend the blade as much as he can, but the power that wielded in Yuan's blade was so powerful that it made Huan Yi lose his grip over his blade. But Yuan still had last of his formation on the blade. And as the last movement struck down at him, Huan Yi became frightened and closed his eyes. Large sound of explosion struck his ears. Huan Yi, who feared for his life, became tense and his face was drenched with sweat, sending down his makeup with it. Ugh, who? Huan Yi panted and opened his eyes. The white dragon blade that came down at him as if it would cut him in half was pushed down next to him. The last movement that Yuan struck down with the blade had cut through the ground and even to the wall. It was beyond shock to see such power that Huan Yi had lost for words. He is really a monster. Chapter 156. Worth of Heir. Part 10. Baki quickly found where the sound of metal clashes coming from. It was beyond the small building to the right after the main courtyard. Baki quickly tried to run toward the place, but he had to stop after a few steps. A man with blue silk clothes suddenly appeared and attacked Baki. It was an ambush, but Baki was quickly able to counter back with his kicks. After fighting against each other for one formation, two of them distanced themselves from each other. The middle-aged man looked surprised at Baki, a young man with such power. But the young man shouted right after. Young man, how dare you break into this place? And at that word, over 50 warriors with black clothes and arms came out of the building and tried to circle them. Baki, Hubong, Ko Wonger and Sama Chuk then followed and placed their back at Baki's back. This is what I expected. Sama Chuk mumbled as he pulled out his sword. He busted in, thinking Yuan was in danger, but there was no way highest ranking like the Ghost Illusion clan would not be ready for any intruder. All warriors with black clothes had two daggers in their hands with similar masks as those guards, but their faces were like distorted monsters. It's creepy. Hubong spoke as he readied in Sword of Illusion. The creepy mask made enemies feel scared. But even without that, all of these warriors seemed to be they were highly skilled warriors. Four of you, what clan are you from that makes you so rude? The middle-aged man with blue silk clothes shouted with anger. If the mansion wasn't inside the cult, they would have defeated these young men already, but this was inside the cult, where everyone was a cultist. You people first, wait a second. Baki, who was frustrated at these people blocking their way while their master was in danger, but Ko Wonger stopped him. We can't make more problems. Ko Wonger then brought out 2 medals from his pocket and showed it to them. Huh? One was the medal that proved him as a master rank within the cult, and one was the medal that said Demon Fist, which showed what clan he was from. I am Ko Wonger from Demon Fist clan. Demon Fist? Demon Fist clan was known for being a powerful fist user and one of high-ranking clan. The middle-aged man spoke with a frown. Are you son of Ko Wonghen? Yes, sir. A son of high-ranking clan busting into another clan's mansion at this hour? Did your father teach you to do such a thing? It didn't feel good to hear the man talking about his father, but Ko Wonger responded calmly. I'm sorry, but we thought something had happened to our master who entered here a while ago, so we had to come in. Master? It's Prince Chen Youan, the 12th elder. At the name, the man became surprised. The name Chen Youan was most famous in recent days. There was no one who had not heard of the name of the man who passed the 6th test of Academy, and son of the Lord who was not from 6 clans. Was the guest while ago, Prince Chen Youan then? The man's name was Gung, one of leaders of the Ghost Illusion clan. He thought the guest was just one of Huan Yi's acquaintance when Huan Yi himself went out to meet him, but it seems Huan Yi, the weird leader, had done something again. Gung also heard the swords clashing against each other. The sound was enough to prove that whoever fighting was at equals. Why is the leader fighting against Prince Chen Youan? Gung became curious and Ko Wonger spoke to him. There is a problem with our master, so how can we, as a servant, just wait outside? Please allow us to see what is going on inside. Ko Wonger was right, but this was the home of the Ghost Illusion clan. Ko Wonger and his friends were not allowed to walk freely. I'm sorry, but we cannot interfere with what our leader does. And when Gung spoke, 50 warriors blocked the way to the guest house. They were given no choice. Ko Wonger, who figured there was no time to waste, clenched his fist and readied. Gung also raised his energy to ready and gave a final warning. You are young men, so I will warn you last time. If you fall back now, I will tell our leader to not harm Prince Chen Youan and... But before Gung can finish speaking, tremendous energy that even made them become chilled came out from the guest house. Everyone turned to the direction, and at that moment, the wall that covered the guest house struck down, with blue force chi shooting out from it, leaving a clear mark even outside of the wall. El leader. Gung and warriors of Ghost Illusion clan figured something bad had happened and quickly ran into the guest house. We should go too. Ko Wonger, Baki, Samachuk and Hu Bong then took this chance to follow into the guest house. And when they ran in, they saw warriors of Ghost Illusion clan standing with shock. Ah! They gasped with astonishment. They saw Chen Youan standing with his white dragon blade, and Nu Yan with one of his knees on the ground, giving something to Youan. It was the medal that proved to be the 11th elder. 11th elder, and leader of Ghost Illusion clan. Huan Yi accepts Prince Chen Youan as the rightful heir to the throne. Please take this as my proof of allegiance. He wasn't an advisor. Members who didn't know Nu Yan's true identity was shocked. And from looking at the destroyed yard, they realized Chen Youan had won the duel against Huan Yi. Hu Bong grinned and spoke to Gung, who was looking at his leader dumbfoundedly. Hee, thank you. So, I guess no harm did come to our master then. Chapter 157. Worth of a Heir. Part 11. After everything had been settled, a new tea table was set up at the guest house. This time, even Chen Youan's members were allowed to enjoy the warm tea inside. Huan Yi, who had his makeup erased from the sweat, returned with new makeup. But even this face was still a mask, not his real mask. The reason why Huan Yi covered his face with a mask was because his clan was one of the covert operatives of the cult. For this reason, Huan Yi, who was the leader of such a group, was allowed to never show his face other than the Lord himself. If you become the future Lord, then I will show you my real face. Understood? Maybe this feminine act was also the result of a fake identity. Chen Youan, who was sitting at the highest ranked seat on the table, asked Huan Yi on his right. Is Huan Yi not your real son? Oh, so you knew then. Youan actually thought it was better to meet with Huan Yi and persuade him to join, instead of meeting with Huan Yi himself. Huan Yi, who looked hideous, never joined anyone. A mask? With Nano, Youan was able to see right away that Huan Yi had a mask over his face. But Chen Youan did not care how Huan Yi looked anyway, so he offered Yi to join him. Huanya did show some interest, but he refused in the end. He insisted that he needed his leader's consent to side with anyone. And while they talked, Huanya always said his father as his leader. Yoan then thought it weird that Huanya cannot choose his own master and gave up on recruiting Huanya. That's why he had to visit Huanya himself. I can't have a baby. What? Yoan became confused and Huanya covered his mouth and explained embarrassingly. Our clan's unique breathing skill. Een of the ghost has too much energy of Een that requires us to castrate at a young age. Hike. Hubong and Kowanger glanced down at their own genital area and frowned. What? Munku also became blushed and flapped her hand as if she was hot. It seems Huanyi's feminine action was from being castrated, not with his intention. Also with the Een of the ghost, it gave more feminine energy into the body that makes the user become more feminine. Huanya covered himself with a mask since a young age to distance from others due to this reason. So, our clan always requires us to adopt a son. It's actually more like a teacher and apprentice. Yoan nodded. Huanya never revealed this to others than the Lord, but he liked Chun Yoan so he explained this. You all should forget what you have heard today. And that only applied to Chun Yoan. Hubong became tense at authoritative sound. Huanya then relaxed his face and turned to Ko Wanger with a luring look and smiled. Our trusty, Master Ko Wanger is allowed. I'll stay quiet too. Ko Wanger became tense in another way. And as they talked while drinking tea, Huanya suddenly became curious and asked Munku. So, when are you going to reveal it? Huh? You are out of the academy now, so. We will go to Demon Dragon Clan when my Gramps comes back, so I'll talk then. Munku quickly stopped Huanya from talking. Only one who knew her real gender among these people was Chun Yoan. There was reason to keep it secret when they were at the academy, but she too knew that there was no more reason for her to keep it a secret from his members. But it felt embarrassing to reveal to others now, so she was postponing it. Okay. I understand. And when they finished the tea time, Huanya offered to Yoan and his members. If you are okay, you can stay at our guest house for a while if you'd like / He knew that Yoan had no plans to stay for now, so he offered it as so. Yoan needed a place to stay while staying away from 6 clans. He was thankful for such an offer. Thank you so much for your hospitality. If it is okay, can we take one more person? Of course. Huanya agreed. When coming out of the academy, Chun Yoan wanted to return to his old home and meet with guard Jiang, but he had to come to this place first. Huanya told Yoan that he'll fetch Jiang by sending someone, but Yoan said he'll go himself. He wanted to visit his old home too. Chun Yoan then went toward the southern side of the demonic cult where his original home was at. He thought a lot of things might have changed, but his home was still clean. Guard Jiang used to wake up early in the morning and cleaned up the yard after his morning practice was done. He's still the same. He had stayed at the small house with Guard Jiang until he was 15 years old. Guard Jiang was like a parent to him. Yoan became excited to see Guard Jiang in a long time and quickly opened the gate and walked in. So, this is where he grew up, hee. Munku and other members followed him in with curious look. But Chun Yowo, who walked into the yard, was just standing there with grim look. Prince? Chun Yoan was looking at Guard Jiang's room with shaking eyes and mumbled. I don't feel anyone inside.